wants to feel old? The answer is nobody, because it's terrifying when you remember what life is. But basically, as I'm saying these words on the 1st of October 2020, All Elite Wrestling's Dynamite show has been around for a year. Think of that. Think of everything we've talked about, everything we've seen, everything we've gone through, and yet 365 days ago, it didn't even exist. Who the hell knows what's going to happen in 2021? I will probably become an undead zombie. I mean, it's so scary. It's going to be great. But it's now just life. It's what happens. It's the pattern of the week, because it's time to take the finger of power and look at the last episode of AEW Dynamite, and we give the good bit up and we give the bad bits a down. When I give a down in AEW, people go, Simon, you're really reaching for those downs. Oh yeah, well, reach it out of your ass. I'm honest, I'm transparent, I just go with my tum-tum. It tells me what to do. Let's up those downs. Right, before we do anything, we got to talk about Ricky Starks' entrance music, because he was out here to kick things off. He was going to take on Darby Allin. And how have I never clocked this before? I was like, what is this noise of joy? It's a bit like an angry game show theme. So I am a massive fan, and we were finally going to get Ricky Starks versus Darby Allin, a match that AEW has been promoting for a while. And before we did get there, we have a video with, I think, of one of Darby Allin's friends, and he said that Ricky Starks was a bitch. Because, you know, in wrestling, if you really want to rile someone up, you call them a bitch. And what I really liked about this is that these two actually fought like they were mad, because they should be mad. They have been having problems for weeks now, and nothing is more nonsensical in wrestling when two people that have a blood feud start scrapping and then they try and do a bit of wrestling. You're like, what are you doing? That guy tried to eat your face, get him. And that was not the case with these madmen. While we did build it to a certain pace, before long, you had like slams onto the apron, Darby Allin was diving over the top rope and smashing into Ricky Starks, which Brian Cage wasn't happy about, because he just stormed out here like, well, I don't agree with this at all, until Will Hobbs, the man that is getting the push of the year, came out to confront him, and those two brawled to the back. So I was like, well, we're going to have to see a match between those two soon, and we are getting it next week. The greatest part of all of this, though, is that at one point Darby went for a springboard off the ropes, and Ricky caught him with a spear. And the timing and the execution were absolutely faboo, and you could just sort of imagine it in your brain, these two being like kids at Christmas, planning it behind the scenes. Unfortunately for Ricky Starks, he then went for an avalanche off the top, completely flubbed that up. Darby Allin hit the coffin drop, 1, 2, 3. That's right, a clean finish. Darby Allin has defeated his arch nemesis. And it's get it up. This really was a great showcase for two dudes that are going to be major players for AEW down the line. And just to throw a little bit of an argument for them, their comments, maybe they're already top players now. So that's the continuation of one story, and we went right into another, because Cody the Vampire Rhodes was out here to cut a promo. I'm only joking. I actually love Cody's new look. I think he looks absolutely badass. But sure, if all of a sudden he went and started sucking the blood from someone's neck, I'd be like, yeah, I'm not overly surprised. This was the big promo that he needed to cut, though, given that he only did come back to AEW last week, and he told us how devastated he was to lose the TNT Championship, and while he'd be at home healing, he had got a call from Hollywood, which obviously ties into that big announcement we got a few weeks ago. While he was away, he also had a lot of people claiming to be the ace of All Elite Wrestling, but as far as he sees it, only 3 people can lay claim to that. Repo Man, the Gobbledygooker, and Doink the Clown. No, wait, I've got confused. It's Brodie Lee, it was Jon Moxley, and it was Shida, because of course, they are the champions. So flub you, FTR. Of course, the main question that we wanted answered was whether the American Nightmare was going to accept Brodie Lee's challenge, because he wants to have a dog collar match with him for the TNT title. And if you can believe it, Cody said no. That was a little bit anticlimactic, but as it turns out, he's been learning a lot from Reddit and the internet, because he was trolling. Because he came back in the squared circle, he got the microphone and said, of course, what I mean is, no regrets, no holding back, Brodie Lee, I'm gonna kick your ass. He then saw a mirror and was like, oh, I can't see my reflection, because it's vampire. That bit didn't happen. I really enjoyed this tease though, because it just added a little bit of wahoo wahey to proceedings. And then Brodie Lee came storming out here like The Bachelor had just been cancelled, because I'm presuming that's his favourite TV show. He was going to try and kill Cody before the locker room emptied to try and keep these two apart, and then Brandy Rose was diving onto everybody, Anna Jay was attacking Brandy Rose, Cody and Brodie kept trying to go at it. That rhymes, that sounds really good when you say it like that. And it was just, well, it was quite the sight. There was around about 42,000 people here. Then Nyla Rose jumped the rail because she saw an opportunity to lay in some fisticuffs, and this was just an absolute scene that really made you believe that the leader of the Dark Order and Cody actually wanted to murder one another. And given that we are getting that match soon, maybe they actually will. The sheer hatred here, though, I tell you, it's not good for the soul, and it was really good stuff. We then cut to the back where FTR were being interviewed by Tony Schiavone, and you know their deal. They were just running everybody down, or here specifically, the best friends, because they just think they're a couple of losers and that they don't deserve jack. Someone that does is SCU, which is why they're really excited for their tag team fisticuffs later. Schiavone then asked whether they considered taking on the Young Bucks, and then I could hear the internet meltdown because FTR said, well, sure, if we're going to start taking into account Dave Meltzer's star ratings, then maybe they deserve a shot. And then from nowhere, Matt Jackson just smacked Tony Schiavone right in the face. You know what he's doing, they've been doing this for weeks, and they tweeted earlier that they'd already PayPal Tony Khan the money, but I did not see that coming. And what has Tony Schiavone done? Poor Tony Schiavone. FTR were then like, oh, you couple of losers, you should be focusing on us and not on him. Well, they're not. You're absolutely incorrect. My major point is that I have no idea where this is going. Like, somehow we are going to end up with FTR taking on Matt and Nick Jackson, but how we get there, well, I have not connected the dots. And this was a little bit strange. We also cut to a promo with SCU because their tag team title match is next. And as they were making their way to the ring, Sean Spears insulted them. So I guess there's going to be some kind of time with Tully Blanchard, FTR and him. We'll have to wait and see. We also found out that Hangman Page was going to be on commentary, and I'm pretty sure he was drunk. And then maybe not so surprisingly too, this tag team match was awesome. Scorpio Sky is just ridiculous. Frankie Kazarian is vastly underrated, and nobody is doing better old school wrestling than Cash and Dax, and this all just came together wonderfully. There was also one point where Scorpio did the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up, and he probably would have won the match if it wasn't for this damn referee who had been distracted by Cash. And there's no two ways about it. Given what happened last week, and given what's happening now, something is amiss. The mystery is afoot. Or this referee is an idiot. It's one of the two. Either he is in cahoots or he's a massive moron. Eventually, Frankie Kazarian got the hot tag, but this just built to one of those endings that we're gonna have to be talking about for some time. Because there was a bunch of other cradles with really near falls thanks to Scorpio Sky, and just as he was about to suplex Cash back into the ring from the apron, Tully Blanchard, that old little doolally that he is, grabbed Scorpio Sky's leg, then allowed Cash to sort of like readjust the momentum in the air. He collapsed down onto Scorpio Sky, and using Dax and using Tully Blanchard, who was grabbing Scorpio Sky's foot, Cash got the 1, 2, 3, and once again, you've got to have an eye on this referee. What is he being paid? So I'm pretty sure that we have decided to work all this in, like I say, even more so, because at one point, this absolute goof of an official just listened to FTR, even though he didn't have that much proof. They were just like, oh yeah, Christopher Daniels, he did something bad. I think you should get rid of him. They went, oh yeah, I agree. And he chucked Christopher Daniels out of here. How dare you? That man has given us so much. So no way is any of this above board. But you know what? If they have made this decision, I'm all right with it. I don't care if I got work last week. That's the whole point. I'm a wrestling fan, and I watch wrestling to suspend my disbelief. Also just make it even better when he does get caught and FTR do lose the tag team champions. Here's a couple of thumbs. We then found out about the AEW World Title #1 contender and that it's going to be decided in a tournament with the finals happening at Full Gear. Once again, I could already hear people go, why have rankings if you're going to do a tournament? And I suppose that's a fair point, but come on now, use your brain. What is more sports than a tournament? I love a good tournament. Kenny Omega, Phoenix, and Jungle Boy are the announced participants so far, and if you're interested in my own vantage point, I want Kenny Omega to win and then defeat Jon Moxley for their championship. I think that would be awesome, especially because when Hangman Page heard this, he was still on commentary, and he was asked, well, what do you think about that, Hangman? He got up and left because he was too upset. Clearly his tag team dreams have now gone up in smoke, and this is like breaking up with your partner and then accidentally stumbling on a Facebook post where you see them with their brand new boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. It just crushes your heart and makes you want to cry. Poor Adam Page. It was then time for Chris Jericho to bring back a little traditional old school wrestling magic in order to get somebody else over, even though that person didn't win. is getting up. He was taking on Isaiah Cassidy, and everybody, including my mum that doesn't even know what wrestling is, knew that Chris Jericho wasn't going to lose. Given that he's just coming off that program with Orange Cassidy, where Orange Cassidy got the upper hand, you weren't going to give it to another Cassidy here, so you had to come up with something, and they absolutely did. Because the champion just had his ass whipped from the very start, almost to the very finish. I mean, Cassidy was jumping around, he was diving here, he was diving there. He looked like a man that knew what he was doing, to the point that after he had chucked Jericho out of the ring at one point, he started scrapping with Luther. Who the hell saw that coming? Not me. Back in the ring though, Cassidy was hitting cutters, getting out of the way of drop kicks, doing his own lion salt, and doing his own code breaker, and maybe just for around about 2.1 seconds, I thought to myself, are they going to give the tag team member of Private Party a win? Now I realised I was an idiot. We did have some damn close near falls though, but Cassidy, he's just too obsessed with doing springboards off the ropes, because he went for around about the 52,000th one here, and Chris, he had that scouted. He nailed him with the Judas effect, and that one looked pretty damn good, and pinned him for the 1, 2, 3. It was a bit like robbing a bank, and somehow getting away with the cash, even though you were this close to going to jail. So he was basically like the Hamburglar running away with some of those tasty treats, and even though the Inner Circle then tried to beat up Cassidy, Matt Hardy was there with a chair to make the save, and then yeah, Hagar and Jericho got back into it with Luther and Serpentico, and we are going to get that tag team match next week. I would never have called that in 2020. Also, if you're not watching AEW Dark, Luther and Serpentico, they've been doing all right. Maybe they'll win. Of course not. The bizarreness then returned after that, and once again, I never would have predicted this in a million years. We were in some kind of axe-throwing arcade with Miro and Kip Sabian as they were preparing for his bachelor party, and Miro was really upset because he wanted to throw Kip a rum springer pie, and I had no idea what that was. I was like, maybe you drink some rum and you spring around, but I looked it up. It's when you become like 16 years old and you're Amish and you're told to then go out and get absolutely wasted so you know about all the bad in the world so you can just never do it again. Good grief. And they were having a little bit of a good time when Kip Sabian went off to do something, and then of all the people, Billy Mitchell, he of Donkey Kong fame, he's a world record holder, or not really, that's the whole controversy, was saying, well, I can help you with a bachelor party. And within the video game world, Billy Mitchell is basically the biggest heel ever. I have no idea what this was, and once again, I have no idea what it's meant to be. I honestly had to pinch myself to make sure this wasn't a dream, but look, I'm pinching myself, I'm still awake. We'll just have to wait and see what the hell's gonna happen. FTR and their best friends then fell out backstage. Gas and Dax just said, oh, you're nothing but a comedy act. And then Orange Cassidy called them weenies. Whatever. Off the back of that too, we were having the piece of fruit taking on number 10 from the Dark Order. And I just want to say this. I thought it was a really fun little match. AEW had promoted this beforehand, so it wasn't like it was just out of nowhere. And I'm not sure I've ever seen Orange Cassidy's beach break. I'm sure I have and I've just forgotten. But what a devastating move that is. So all in all, yeah, I had a really good time. Up. We also had one point where the minions of the Dark Order who were on the outside took the mick out of the best friend's hug spot, and the best part about that was that the cameraman did that thing with the camera where they pan right back. So I'm like, have they got the production crew involved too? So there was a lot to enjoy here. However, I did have this thought halfway through that Orange Cassidy is coming off a win against Chris Jericho, one of the biggest wrestlers in the world, and now he doesn't really have any direction. I don't mind seeing him take on someone from the Dark Order, but shouldn't we have had some kind of grand master plan to elevate him up the card, or just have him disappear altogether to make the absence heart grow fonder? That wasn't right at all, you know what I mean? I think we should have done. And you want to make sure you do something with him soon, pull the trigger, otherwise people will forget this. We have very short-term memories, and yeah, I just felt like I hadn't really got the payoff that I was waiting for. That's why it's going to get a down. But that's easily changed. He could just do something next week. I was very excited about everything that happened with the Inner Circle, MJF and Wardlow though. Got me all tingly. Because Maxwell had bought jacket presents for everybody in the group, but much like The Rock in the late 90s, they Farouked Sammy Guevara. He didn't give him a framed picture of himself. Instead, he was like, oh, Sammy, I'm so sorry, I forgot yours. I swear on my mother's life, this wasn't intended. But my word, Rey Mysterio could figure out that clearly he had done it on purpose. MJF then underlined that he was here to celebrate Jericho's win, and then Chris and Maxwell did that thing where they went back and forth like, do you want to join the Inner Circle? I don't know, do you want me to join the Inner Circle? And as he left, leaving this big question up in the air, Sammy Guevara said, poof, what a loser. But then Jericho interrupted, well, you know what, Mr. Guevara, Mr. Sammy, maybe he's not that big of a loser at all. Now, there is only one way I want this to go, and once again, we do go back to referencing the Nation of Domination, because I want MJF to get into this group. I want him to sneak and skulk his way in there and then screw over Chris Jericho, who gets kicked out and then becomes the babyface we all knew he was going to turn into anyway. Do you know how much I would love that? This much. I can't extend my hands more because it goes out the camera frame, but that's a lot. I think it would be so good. I think it would double down and establish how much of an asshole MJF is. And again, it just reignites Chris Jericho as a good guy, which nobody is going to be mad at. I mean, we're singing his stupid entrance theme anyway. So I'm very intrigued, and yeah, who actually knows where it's going to go? But look at me. I'm excited like a cat who's about to eat some whiskers. I don't know whether whiskers got to America. It's just cat food. Britt Baker was then back properly, and she beat Red Velvet Cake. Wrestler's name isn't Red Velvet Cake, it's just Red Velvet, but I'm an idiot. I can't help myself, but up. I like this though. Baker won after the curb stomp, which I guess is going to be her new move, but after she had got the pinfall, Reba was in the ring, gave her glove, and she locked on the lockjaw because she's just a bad dentist. Hopefully this starts to rebuild her momentum that she did have before she did get injured, but as a quick aside from Cody earlier, nobody even mentioned Shida on this show, and she is the AEW Women's World Champion. The cool thing about Jon Moxley is that even when he wasn't be able to come to the show, he's not there, everybody is talking about Jon Moxley. It's a bit like Poochie from The Simpsons, and I think we should also be doing that with Shida and just promoting her as this grand title holder that everybody should fear. I don't even know who she's feuding with right now, so that really does have to get her down. Dynamite then officially became the show when stuff just happens, or matches that I never would have called. However, because Eddie Kingston and his goons came out with the referee from last week, and Eddie just had one simple question for this guy. Why the hell did you call the match? Because I never tapped out, I never submitted, I was in the Bulldog choke, sure, but you and I, we've been friends for years, and now I feel like I've been stabbed in the back. The ref agreed with all of this, but also made out there's a difference between our professional and personal lives. I'm here to protect you from yourself, Eddie, you dingus. I did what I had to do, and you know what? I'd do it again. Obviously, Eddie wasn't very pleased about that, and then him, Phoenix, and Pentagon, well, they were going to beat up this poor man. At that very moment, though, out came Jon Moxley with a barbed wire baseball bat, and I was like, yeah, that will do it. And the reason that he was here, as Eddie had also let us know, is that he had gone to Tony Khan and demanded an open contract title shot with him choosing the opponent. I'm going to give you a few seconds, if you haven't seen the show, to try and work out who you think it could be. And if anybody picked the butcher, who did arrive here like he had just been cutting some meat, I will send you £5 English in the post, because that never occurred to me. But I got such a kick out of this, because random matches, I don't know what it is, it just feels so fresh, like bread. Come on. They had a pretty decent match too, and while it went a little bit long for my test, and I never really actually believed that the Butcher was going to come out victorious, because you're not going to have the Butcher as your AEW World Champion just yet. You never know what the future holds. Like I say, it was something different, it was something new. I got invested. Eddie Kingston was great on the outside, and he went absolutely nuts when Jon Moxley did win once again after the Bulldog choke. Plus, they stared at each other after here. So I don't think we're done at all. It also raises the question about what's going to happen in a couple of weeks when Moxley takes on Lance Archer for this title. Does Eddie Kingston have something up his sleeve? Maybe he does. And yeah, sure, look, it wasn't the most, oh my gosh, ending to Dynamite that we'd seen. I don't know what it was. Whoever thought you'd see the Butcher in the main event? It's kind of the thing I want other promotions to do. Here and there, just give an opportunity to someone, and let's see if they can sink. Well, let's see if they can swim. And I'm going to say, the Butcher, he was doing breaststroke for days. Dynamite, it was fine. Not the best one I've ever seen, but it's still getting it up. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about the show last night. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Head over to WhatCulture.com, read yourself some articles, follow WhatCulture on Twitter, WhatCulture WWE, and watch more videos here on WhatCulture Wrestling. My name is Simon for WhatCulture. Thank you for watching as always. And tomorrow, 2 p.m. BST, Retro Ups and Downs is the Raw from May 10th, 1999. You wanted it, so you're going to get it.